On September the 11th, enemies of freedom committed an act of war against our country, and night fell on a different world, a world where freedom itself is under attack. It will not end until every terrorist group of global reach has been found, stopped, and defeated. Our war on terror begins with Al-Qaeda, but it does not end there.
Yeah, to the hustlers, killers, murderers, drug dealers, even the strippers. To the victims of welfare, feel we living in hell here, hell yeah. Now hear me more clearly. I know you hear me when my feet get weary, cause we're the almost nearly extinct.
The war in Afghanistan began on October 7, 2001, as the US Armed Forces launched Operation Enduring Freedom along with the British Armed Forces and Afghan United Front in response to the September 11 attacks, with the stated goal of defeating Al-Qaeda and ending its use to Afghanistan as a base for terrorist operations. Since then, the number of British military deaths in operations in Afghanistan since 2001 stands at 354 and many more injured. We are exploring into service and aftercare for the men and women that have left the army in Afghanistan. We are looking into the treatment and how it can be accessed. We interviewed Rifleman Gary Green from the 4th Platoon Rifles Division based in Helmand Province. We hear his story and experience of the service that he received.
Could you describe to us your job description in Afghanistan?
Yeah, we was deployed originally as operational support force, and basically the main aim of being sent or deployed was to bolster the British forces during the time of the Afghan elections. We was given a small area of operations in Nadi Ali South, southern Helmand Province in southern Afghanistan. 7 platoon who I was operating with during this time. We were given PB Parang, which was just south of Kalshore Calais, which was one of the worst villages out there. Joining the army was just always something I wanted to do from a young age, because it was just something to look forward to, something to fight for. You know, it's like every little boy's dream. So going to Afghan was just a part of that. There was nothing emotionally attached to it for me. It was just going to war. It's just cool.
As we understand, you saw some pretty horrific things. Could you tell us what some of those were?
The first incident, I say, of proper war that I saw was my mate Daniel Hume. He was, 5 platoon were operating out of Fob Salab, so they had all the more I don't know how you'd say it, the more accessories to them. You know, they had everything. So they would do the more long patrols down to us, or they'd patrol through to Ham, and that's what they were doing. They were doing a long patrol down to us and then through, going straight down to Ham. And this was in order to get us parcels. I think they had to take a generator to Ham, so you know they could have sort of electricity, you know, charge their radios and stuff. The Mastiff that they were patrolling behind got blown up, and you know, the metal mud flaps and mud guards on the back, that come off, that split his head in 2. Yeah, you can see it's all over the internet. His head was split in 2. John Boland, their platoon sergeant of 5 platoon, he was blown up, split across the stomach, blown into an irrigation ditch. They never had enough blokes on the ground to control everything, so it was our job. They called up 7 platoon, got any, platoon medics, and I was a team medic. So I was sent down. It was me and Kopi. Sent down. We had to basically put them in body bags, carry them back to Parang. That was pretty savage. That went nice. And then personally for me, the worst one, we had we was all in Parang, we was all just chilling out. We had an IED go off, and we knew none of our blokes were on the ground, so we was all sort of they do sort of cheer, ooh, you know, sort of the Taliban blowing themselves up. About, I don't know, 30 seconds to a minute after we had the bang, there was someone shouting outside Sangerfree, and they're saying, yeah, we've got a child casualty, child casualty. We got the interpreter up there, everything was squared away. I was team medic again, so I had to go to the scene. And instead of it being the Taliban had blown themselves up laying an IED, a child had stepped on the IED by mistake. One of them had already died, so they didn't bring him, they just brought this other one in a wheelbarrow. It was me and Stance and Jones outside. Stance was giving us cover. Me and Jones went to pick him up out of the wheelbarrow, and as I picked, he had a, I don't know what it's actually called, but you know the rags they wear, we call them dish dashes, and he had a dish dash, blue one, wrapped around his legs. Picked him up and his legs came off in our hands. That was pretty horrific. Then we had to like scoop him up from like under his ass cheeks, and then he was all wet where he'd gone into the irrigation ditch, and the flesh was all like not like you imagine it in a movie. You know, like blood don't shoot everywhere. It's not like that. As soon as you get blown up, most of the veins are pretty much like welded together almost from the heat of the blast anyway. But it was all wet and disgusting. We carried him in. His name was Abdul John, he was 8 years old, and we worked and done what we can. His left leg was missing up to here, but then his bone was like sticking upwards as if he was trying to move his leg. His right leg was missing from here, but then there was no skin, and then it came up until to a point. Like that's the only that was all like just like skin was missing, but there was still like flesh, and like his leg was moving. It's weird. It almost looks like it's a robot. It's like almost too fake, or so real that it seems fake. He had like a little, well, like his nose was split in two, but then he had like a little bit of frag that had gone in there, and so like blood kept pouring into his eye. So I had to keep dabbing that out. That's one thing I remember. We put FFDs around his legs, you know, bandaging it, put a tourniquet on. There's no real bleeding anyway. We have something called quick clot, which clots the blood up. So you know, we put that on his leg, put an FFD around that. But he died when he got back to Bastion anyway. But that was like, you know, speaking to civvies, you know, that's probably like quite shocking.
Also, you were injured, so you were still in effect recovering, and the information that we get from the news, etc., suggests that you were always offered counselling, you were always offered some sort of support.
Yeah, that's one thing, I never had that. It was probably an option that was open to me, you know, I could probably go and get it for myself, but you're supposed to be what they call trimmed, which is where even if you've been on the ground and something bad's happened, you're supposed to have a like psychological analysis, you know, from someone who's trained. And now, you know, do you want to talk about anything? Probably my answer would have been no anyway, because I didn't really feel I ever needed to open up about anything. But you know, I was never trimmed by anyone.
It's about people who have had very traumatic things happen to them. So it might be in a war situation, might be being involved in an accident, might be even as a result of maybe some kind of abuse that's actually done to them. And it's where the incident kind of has been sort of in some ways locked inside them and not dealt with, and can cause all sorts of big problems for them after the event, sometimes days, weeks, months, years even after the event, and they can cause, you know, nightmares, and they might have flashbacks, cause them to be really sort of worried about going out in social situations, leaving the house, maybe even, you know, not being able to even be friends with people or have relationships with people anymore. Well, I guess it can lead to people not being able to sort of operate normally in society, maybe not holding down jobs, not being able to have relationships with people, break down even in the relationships that they had, possibly homelessness, all sorts of things really. I'd say I hope you've really thought it through.
As a message to young, so we'll set it to sort of say 16 to 25 to 28 year olds, as a message to them about service and aftercare and everything you've been through, what as a message would you give?
Drenched in my pain again, becoming who we are. As my memory rests, but never forgets what I lost. Wake me up when September ends. Think harder than I did. Always make sure if you're going to join the army that there's something you can do if the worst happens. The innocent can never last. Wake me up when September ends.